Dorit and PK are divorcing, and Dorit wants full custody of the kids and spousal support. The only question left is, who gets to keep Boy George?
Wow.
Does that made sense, right?
A real hoot.
He doesn't. That was kind of, I was being a little bit silly. He doesn't still live there.
In their house?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that. I'm sure you saw as well. Well, first of all, since we last spoke, PK made out with another woman.
Yeah,
and
on a
then,
wall.
Him and Dorit sat silently apart from each other at softball practice or whatever for their son.
Yeah, this all happened immediately. You and I hung up our phone call of last Turtle Time, and then immediately, as it always is, we get the biggest news in the world. And it said PK was outside of Cipriani in New York City. Did you see this beautiful photo?
It looked like Dorit from the back.
Yes, someone from Page 6 said that. They said PK certainly has a type. She looks exactly like Dorit, but they apparently got one of the biggest steak dinners you can get at Cipriani, like the classic $300 meal that Cipriani has. And then they went outside, they had a huge kiss, make out. And then the minute that was released by TMZ, Dorit filed the next day saying, I'm done with this shit. And then she's asking for all those things I said: custody of Boy George, custody of kids, spousal support, and then a bunch of other things. And then, like you just said, then they had that kind of iconic photo, PK up in the rafters, looking sort of longingly at his son, and then Dorit is looking at the other direction as well. So that huge news there. What do you think about that?
R.I.P. to one of the great romances of all time.
Yeah. Now when I think of their romance, like before Beverly Hills this season, I was always saying, like, that relationship, I didn't really hold it to such high esteem. But then when they showed that black and white montage at the start of the season, do you remember when it was like Boy George was peeking out, giggling because he's about to sing for Dorit, and he's like, I can't do his accent, but he's like, should I sing now, PK? And he's like, just a minute. And then, like, all of those beautiful moments that they had. Now I'm like, oh, I do have a little bit of reverence for that iconic relationship, but I knew that it didn't seem good where they were at based off this season of Beverly Hills. Did you?
Yeah, I don't know if it's just because is usually in such crazy glam for Beverly Hills or whatever, but she looked out of sorts. She looked a little rough for the wear. But again, I'm like, maybe she just wasn't wearing makeup and I'm not used to that. But she was not in glam mode at all in the pictures I saw.
Oh, wow. And there's even more updates. I didn't see them all, but they saw like Dorit doing a bunch of stuff post divorce. I forget everything she did. I wish I had it on hand, but it was like she was grocery shopping and she was doing a bunch of stuff. So it seems like this is legitimately happening. I mean, full divorce.
Not to jump ahead to the valley, but I'm like, how many different series is someone going to give another person advice to file immediately? It's like the hot quote of the season is like, you need to file right now. You better file.
Yeah, get ahead of the curve. You don't know what these guys will do if you're not filing immediately, because famously Erika, if you haven't watched Beverly Hills this season, Erika at this wonderful lemon dinner, or it wasn't lemon, but it was called Capri. Yeah. Erika gave this one of the best monologues of the season to Dorit, saying, file now, file before he can do anything weird to you.
Oh, and so gosh. By the way, there's this woman that I get on TikTok who's a lawyer, and she will sort of break down high profile cases in layman's terms of what has happened in the trial that day or whatever. And the stuff that she explained from the Erika v. Whatever it is, the estate that needs to be fulfilled, does not look good for her. Like,
really?
I'm like, if all of the housewives that were giving her such a hard time, it was because they knew all of these details, I was like, I get it.
Oh, no, you're telling the wrong person. One of the lone Erika is absolved of all crimes and sins.
There was a a couple. This wasn't like orphans and widows. There is a different client of Girardi Keese that they were lottery winners who had gotten were getting divorced, and so they had to settle their lotto earnings, like, or because they were getting it in perpetuity or whatever, you know, like for 30 years or whatever. So they had to figure out how to splice it up, and somehow they figured out a way, like, I guess Tom proposed this, that the way, like, part of how they were going to pay, I think, for their, like, legal fees, question mark, is that Erika Jayne, the private citizen, got money from the lotto.
Like, so,
directly.
And there wasn't anything on the lotto ticket that said a portion of this money should... Yeah, a portion of this money can be used to bet on blonde Erika Jayne. Wait, so you're telling me nothing about the lotto ticket when they got it had anything to do with Erika?
No.
It was only...
And she doesn't work there, and the law firm paid her Amex bill, which over the course of their marriage was $15 million.
Wait, sorry, what was 15? I'm just thinking about how...
Her Amex bill
was
over the course of the time they were together was over $15 million, and the law firm paid that bill.
All right, let me approach the bench, Your Honor. I think
I would love to hear this.
I think Erika, when she was looking at her Wells Fargo statements, she possibly had one eye closed.
Wells, like the funniest one.
She had
her
one eye
Discover
closed.
Card.
She had one eye closed. She looks at her 15 million. She doesn't ask where the bread is buttered. It says lotto winnings. It says what's that? Airline
Orphans and Widows Incorporated.
I think Erika takes a little look at the balance sheet, but much like some people like you and I, even hypothetically, you know, me personally, I'll say me, you look at your stuff with a fine-tooth comb, but maybe she didn't see all of these transactions, and it was just as long as the money kept piling in, Tom Girardi, who is competent, was filtering as much money as he could, because Erika needs a certain amount of money to live.
Is that the glam?
So, Your Honor, I rest my case. I think
the gavel has gone down. I actually, in that moment of hearing these details, because she like signed on the dotted line for that lotto money.
Yeah.
I was like, wait, maybe he is incompetent, and Erika was a Black Widow, and she is the one that was the mastermind.
That's worst case scenario. I like the first part of it.
She's smart. That's the one thing that I like about her, is I think she's like whip smart and like razor sharp, and so I'm like, actually, like, it's way more fun to imagine that she's actually diabolically evil.
Yeah, pure evil. Like that would be an Erika that I don't even truly know. So Tom Girardi, contrary to what we found out, he is mental incompetentus, and he's going lotto tickets, that goes to my wife. She loves the lotto. And then it's Erika saying, siphon off that stuff. I get a little piece of this. I get a little piece of this.
You checked our statement and it was just like, I bought Jimmy a diamond encrusted like World Series ring that we just had no money left in our account. And I'm like, he supports this business in a very big way.
Yeah, it would. I'll be honest with you. It would take me a couple months before I ever found out the truth of that. But you're right. Okay. This makes me think of a lot of things. First of all, I'm never going to weigh in anymore or say anything if I don't know all of the facts. I obviously didn't know any of this lotto stuff before I defended Erika. So I wish I knew. I need to get to the bottom of that, the root of all of this stuff. My impulse is that Tom is incompetens mentis, and Erika was just waiting for how her bread was going to get buttered each month, and wherever the 15 million came from, she didn't give a shit. Which, not the best philosophy, especially when you're dealing with someone who, when I watched that documentary about the evil Tom empire, it did say a lot of his lawyers, Tom, they'd be, you got to imagine this, they'd be in the lawyer's office and they'd have the windows down in the office to get air, and then all of a sudden all the papers in the office would start blowing because Tom Girardi was landing in a private jet right outside of the lawyer's office, and they were like, how the hell does this lawyer, even though he's the Aaron Brockovich lawyer, how the hell does he have enough money to have his own private jet every single day? So even they were kind of astounded by what kind of money he was bringing in.
Yeah. I have to imagine that in this new post Kardashian, I guess, I feel like they're the real drawing, like, line in the sand for this crazy lifestyle, where when you first started watching the Kardashians, their house was, you know, they lived in a nice neighborhood and it was a nice house, but it was a normal looking house.
Yes.
And when you first started watching the Housewives, outside of like Lisa Vanderpump or the crazy ones, their places looked like fairly normal. And now it feels like everyone is keeping up with the Joneses in such a fashion that I'm like, this is like unsustainable. And I feel like more people than ever are going to go to jail because they're going to have to be like, I can do a PJ. I'll figure it out. I can rent a Rolls Royce. And it's like, you don't have to.
Yeah, no, totally, you're right. Even Jennifer Pedranti is about to, has to do stuff in association with Ryan. Like, he was going to Vegas on private jets with that one guy who was taking the translator's money. Like, I think everyone is one step away from committing a heinous crime. And the more money...
It's crazy. I'm like, can you guys just fucking relax? No one cares.
I mean, you and I have committed crimes. So, and then lastly, about the Erika thing, I need to do my due diligence as the Turtle Time co-host, and
I'll send you the clip.
Thank you. That would be good. And then I think that if we ever did get Erika on, which is one of the Turtle Time guests we've been wanting, hardball, softball, if we did bring that back, I would do the biggest puff piece interview in the world. And then hardball, the last hardball is what was going on with that lotto money that was in your account, if you wanted to, if you were okay with that.
You're like, what does it feel like to bet on Blonde?
That would be total softball. The whole thing would be the biggest softball she's ever had thrown at her. And then I would sneak in the one of the biggest hardball she's ever heard with that. Well, we'll get to the bottom of that for sure. I wanted to ask you, I sent you this, so it's kind of a silly question to pose to you, but did you see that Craig Conover State Farm ad that
I did.
was bubbling up? I loved the premise of it. It shows his yard in complete shambles. And he goes, Austin and Shep came over drunk as hell and ruined my backyard. And they show, like, a fence broken and his pool has a bunch of shit in it. And then that's when, what's his name? Jake from State Farm?
Yeah.
He comes up and he says, get better or what does he say? He says something like, get insurance, right?
He's like, you need to get back in business so you can make these pillows like this one right here. I also, I did notice that there's a Bravo logo at the end of the ad, so they're getting a cut. They're like, you don't get to keep any of this. But I got a TikTok of Craig in his backyard that he posted where he was just like eating his vegetables, and he was like, look how good these strawberries are. They're so much better than the store. Look at this celery. Here are my bees. They're just chilling, like nothing to be afraid of here. Like he was really giving a tour of his preferred lifestyle, and he was replying to all the comments. Like, he was really into it.
I think he's back in a big way.
Really?
Yeah. Between State Farm and then what that video you just said, and then he's going on a Spritz Society tour across the United States.
I don't know where it was, somewhere exotic with his new girlfriend, like the Bahamas or something.
Yes, totally. And the people that are good at doing this kind of stuff, they could see from the photos that they weren't saying that they were on it, but if you put their photos back to back, it was basically like you could imagine them sitting together. It was the same view that they had. One last Craig thing, because he is kind of on a full upswing, sort of back in action. Page 6 asked him his favorite 6 books. Did you see this?
Oh, no.
It's in some conjunction with like a book TikTok or something, and he shared his 6 books. The Odyssey by Homer, the Iliad by Homer, the Aeneid by Virgil, Antigone by Sophocles, Kitchen Confidential by Anthony Bourdain, and then a book called Make My Bed by Admiral McRaven.
Oh, wow.
So it was kind of shocking. There's probably nothing that gives me more joy than seeing what books people are reading. Whenever Shep says, like, I'm reading this book, I love that, and so that was pretty fun for me to see Craig's
I
books.
saw a clip where he was holding up a book that people in the comments were saying that it wasn't Homer, it was a different book that apparently is currently the one beating Paige and Hannah's Giggler's book. And so some people were alluding to who's being shady, like, I'd rather read this one.
No way! Wait,
But
I
maybe
want to
it was just
find it.
popular.
Oh my god! Wow, I want to know. I can't look up a bestseller list now. I'd never know how the fuck I'd ever find it. But that's kind of funny if to read into that. But I bet you he's just a number one bestseller guy, don't you think?
Yeah.
Make My
I'll
Bed
give
was
him
a
the benefit of the doubt.
yeah. He liked The Help and Freakonomics. I didn't mention those two.
Oh, wow. I'm on TikTok all the time, of course. Shep, for some reason, gave a little home tour, and they showed his bookshelf, and I did, as we discussed before, see Dan Brown on there.
No way.
Yeah, I sent it to you. I know you're not on TikTok as much as me.
Yeah.
Which is good.
Which did you say which Dan Brown it is?
I just saw the big Dan Brown. I didn't zoom in further because he kind of walked past, and he was like, "I'm a voracious reader."
Oh my god! I would. I want to. When I get back on TikTok, I'm going to take a huge screenshot and take a huge peek. I wonder if he knows that The Secret of All Secrets is coming out in September by Dan Brown.
God, hell yeah! He said he's huge into music, like rock and roll biographies is his favorite.
Oh my god! I'm gonna spend some time imagining what those are, and then look at that TikTok. Speaking of stuff that's fun as hell, rock stars. Speaking of rock stars, you had a huge thing that you did in the last couple days. You saw the one and only Luann at her cabaret show.
It's true. It was better than I remembered the first time. I think she's really seasoned her craft since we saw her a few years ago. Mm-hmm. It was a blast. She changed outfits like 5 times, sang fun covers intertwined with her classics. She closed out with Money Can't Buy You Class, which the fact that I didn't even realize that she hadn't sung it yet shows how entertained I was, because she sang it very last and I was like, thought the show was over and I was okay with it. But then that came through and I was like, this is great.
Oh my god! And it is available. This full Amy's experience is available on the Turtle Time TikTok. It is so fun.
I made a millennial ass TikTok.
Something about it's good, and something about her singing "Let's Give Them Something to Talk About" while those headlines of her with Tom and Grant or whoever these people are, all those headlines showing up. I mean, that is one of the coolest things you could ever see, I think.
Yeah, no, she's awesome. I was like, people will say, her voice is whatever. her skills are questionable at times, but you know what? I loved everyone there was so happy to be there. I was like, I know I can have at least an hour-long conversation with any single person here.
Yes.
She showed hilarious clips. She kept saying even Louis Vuitton makes mistakes, like a tick almost. It was amazing.
That is so fun, and it doesn't matter. I mean, it doesn't matter that her voice isn't perfect, like some might say. Even like Tony Bennett and Frank Sinatra, towards the end, she's not at the end of their runs, but people just went to their shows, and Frank Sinatra famously sounded like absolute shit. And
Have you seen the clips of Frankie Valli?
Oh, did he start to sound like shit towards the end of his?
He's just like worse off than Tom Girardi. Like he's like not alive.
Oh my God! No, I haven't seen that. But I don't even mean that. Like like Luann can do whatever the hell she wants, and you know what I mean. I don't even. I think her voice is absolutely beautiful,
stunning.
Like
it has that. It's like what's his name? Her producer said when they first got together. He said those beautiful husky tones.
Oh my God! Do you remember when that producer was like, "I got lightning in a bottle in here" when she came in for that first time? He was so excited. Well, speaking of lightning in a bottle, I went to that Festival of Books shit, and I got to see. It was amazing. Los Angeles Times Festival of Books. Have you ever been to this?
I have. It's fun.
Oh, good. Yeah, it's so fun. One year I saw Jonathan Franzen. This year I got to see Hannah and Paige. They were talking about How to Giggle, their brand new book, and I wanted to wait in line, but I have to say that I think half of the people at Festival of Books were there to see Hannah and Paige.
Oh, wow.
It was like Beatles at what did the Beatles do? Ed Sullivan.
Yeah.
It was people weren't even their audience section was I had to stand.
Whoa.
Well, that's not a big deal, but I'm just saying I had to stand like in the back, and then half of the audience were already waiting for the signing booth. They didn't even want to watch it. They wanted to be first in line to get a signed copy, and so that was taking up a huge part of the thing. So it was like
there's giggle fever. I applaud them. I just am surprised that I think it's at a level I can't comprehend.
It's bigger than anything. It's bigger than Bravo. They have their own YouTube now that they're trying out called Hannah and Paige Try Things. Or I think, and I was like, that is a great idea for them. If they don't, they have their own fan base that will watch whatever they're doing, and them starting their own YouTube channel, they're going to start raking in the cash even more than they already are.
Damn, we got to get her on here.
I know. So it's a giggle era completely. And it was shocking to see Festival of Books get taken over by gigglers, but
yeah.
I love it. It was just a testament to their power.
Did they say that they read?
They said yes. Oh my God, they said we read so many books. They were talking about the different books they like, and yeah. And then one person, this was kind of fun for you and I. One person said, "I'm starting a podcast with my friend." It was kind of like when people. Like when you go to a Q&A with a director and they're like, I'm a filmmaker, Martin Scorsese. Yeah, they're like, can you give me advice on, will you give me advice on how to be one? Yeah. And they were doing that. And then they said, they gave them good advice. And they said the two most important things for a podcast. And I was like, my ears were perking up because I was like, we have turtle time. They said chemistry and consistency are the two magic words. Yeah, and I know I almost screamed at the top of my lungs. I said Turtle Time has that, but they said that they've heard so many podcasts and people starting them, and they said they fall so quickly after 3 or 4, and you could just imagine. I'm sure a bunch of podcasts are popping up in your head right now. Bryn's podcast,
the other Turtle
Time, and it's true that consistency. You just got to do it, no matter how shitty it is.
Pain in the ass.
Even if it sucks, even if you make no money, even if it just keep doing it. So I thought that was kind of inspiring. I started cheering in the back of the thing, but that was it for news from me. Anything else that you wanted to say?
It wasn't too detailed, but did you see that when Gizelle was on Watch What Happens Live, she said that Karen Huger is running the jail and that everyone loves her in there?
No. Please say it again. Please say that again. Gizelle said that Karen has everyone wrapped around her finger in her jail and they're all doing her bidding.
Yeah, I couldn't tell if she was just being nice and trying to make it sound like Karen is doing well, for the public. But she was like, you wouldn't be surprised that she's running that thing.
Oh, I am not surprised at all. I want to know every single. Oh, Karen, come back with a tell-all memoir about every single day. I hope you're doing a jail diary during this time. I have no doubt that Karen's got that thing running like running on a, what's that called? Running like clockwork in there.
Do you think, I feel like Jen Shaw, because she'll probably need cash, she'll write a book, right?
Absolutely. I think everyone start writing your memoirs now, especially if you're going through a tumultuous time. Dorit should be writing a memoir right now of the PK diaries or Life After PK. I mean, just write a memoir. And
I was thinking, obviously there's no reason why George Santos would end up in the same jail as Jen Shaw, but I was like, can you imagine what diabolical shit they would come up with if they were together? They would hatch a whole new scheme.
It's almost too powerful. You if you get Elizabeth
Holmes.
You get Elizabeth Holmes, George Santos, and Jen Shaw in a room together. You don't even know what kind of stuff can be created in there. I can't even imagine.
Can I also tell you a complete non sequitur, just because I feel like Scientology is one of our topics?
Yeah, of course.
I just found out this week that Michael Pena is in the club. Did you know that?
Oh, I think I kind of knew that. You saying it does not shock me fully, but no, it's still shocking no matter what, whenever you find out.
He
wow.
was front and center at the L. Ron birthday extravaganza.
When? With the, was that, oh my God, you and I, we were supposed to go to that. When was that? Was that huge festival that they were having?
I think so, but I think there was a big thing in Florida. His actual birthday, I just looked it up, is March 13th, 1911.
Oh my God. Oh, I cannot believe
wow, that's a year before the Titanic.
Oh my God! Wait, so Michael Pena was front and center at the L. Ron Hubbard Celebration Festival?
Yeah. And I'm like,
Whoa.
wow, 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 wow. He's like my nemesis on Cinematrix because they use him all the time for some reason. And I'm always like struggling to remember. But for any future Cinematrix heads, The Martian,
Oh.
End of Watch.
End of Watch. I was just gonna say. I was gonna give you one.
What else? Crash.
Oh, he was in Crash.
Yes.
Paul Haggis got him that job.
That makes sense.
Yeah, Paul Haggis must have said, "I'm getting my Scientology buddies together," and Michael
Or
Pena
he
was a burgeoning.
Brought him into the fold during that movie.
Oh my God! Oh my God! Wow. Well, oh, man, I love that. I love finding out that Michael Pena is a part of it. But you made me kind of sad that we missed that L.
Event.
Ron Hubbard celebration.
I know. I think Travolta was there too, and apparently Tom Cruise, because he's in London these days, he does the London events.
Oh my God! Well, that is awesome. Well, I'm not. Congrats to L. Ron Hubbard, but we were thinking of you in spirit.
We honor you
You've been
every
gone.
day.
You've been gone a long time. March 13th, almost.
But seriously,
almost
think about like
110
how
years.
much money, how much better our podcast would do if we just joined them.
I know. Well, no, it'd be a no-brainer. It would instantly. We'd have access to the Celebrity Center podcast studio. They'd be
You
running
just
ads
start
on the.
seeing the little S in the corner of our videos.
We're on that, that Scientology channel. They'd be running
Direct
Turtle
TV,
Time ads.
yeah.
Oh, yeah, I would. Obviously, I would do it if. What do you think they would require of us? What do they get? They require all of our.
Everything. Million-year contract.
All right. Well, I mean, the way things are looking with Turtle Time, that might be something we're doing in the next 6 months. But I had.
Elron.
I had one last, please. I'm not even going to say the last thing. It was about, it's kind of going backwards, but we don't want to go backwards, right? Let's go forwards. Let's go.
Okay.
No. Sorry, let's go backwards. I want to take a huge reverse. When you said Gizelle was on Watch What Happens Live, I heard an anecdote from that I thought was laughable and ridiculous, and it was that she says that she's heard secondhand that TJ has all the receipts that will prove that he was paid for by Stacey. One of the lingering mysteries from last season of Potomac, mystery that you and I shot down harder than any theory we've ever shot down in our life. And I could tell that Gizelle was lying her ass off. She was like, I don't talk to him directly. It's like, why not? But I heard from his friends that he's cooking up some of the best receipts you've ever seen, and he's waiting to release them, or he doesn't want to release them because he still wants to get paid by Stacey.
Okay.
Sounds like a classic liar's gambit, or whatever the hell you would call that. I've never heard a bigger lie, but I cannot believe that Gizelle, even after the fallout from that reunion and all of the well, I think you and I were the only ones who were vocally supportive of Stacey and were pissed off at Gizelle, but I can't believe the backlash didn't turn Gizelle away from trying to. I think she still wants to have a major feud with Stacey coming into the next season, so that's why she's talking about that.
Last thing I'll say, because Giselle is on the table. Did you watch Love Hotel yet? Any of it?
I did not. Did you?
I watched the first one. I think there's only been one. I actually completely couldn't believe that it was on Bravo. I went directly to Peacock and it was like, you can't watch it here till tomorrow. And I was like, it's on Bravo proper?
I can't believe that.
Can you believe that?
No, I thought it was a Peacock Plus exclusive.
Yeah, no, it was like, come back. And I was like, oh shit, I'll go to DirecTV then. But that surprised me. But, it reminds me of Girls Trip. The men are kind of inconsequential, but it's very much like, throw it on while you're eating your spaghetti. Fun to see them all again. Shannon opens up on her first date about her DUI.
Oh my God. I was going to say, does it start with a screaming match between Joel Kim Booster and
Oh my
Shannon?
God.
Or they're
He's
saving
very minimized. I feel like he's barely. Well, also I can't say because when I realized that it was on real TV, I had missed the first like 3 or 4 minutes, which is probably the only part he would be on.
Okay.
So I can't say he wasn't on it at all, but outside of the introduction, he's like was not on it.
Holy shit, maybe you're right. They're editing around him because he was so upset with Shannon. The only thing that makes me sad about Love Hotel, and I think I've already said this, is that I know that Ashley Darby is in a committed relationship with Josh from Potomac, and I know that she wants to be on Love Hotel, but I know it's a full... She's not going to give her full heart to any of these Love Hotel men because Josh is waiting for her back at Potomac, but I feel like she couldn't say no, so she had to pretend that her and Josh are kind of on ice.
Right.
Do you
I
know
will
what I mean?
say she was the most open to the experience. Like she has sexual energy on the table. So I was like, oh, like I respect her. Like she seems like she actually. I mean, that's not surprising. She's probably one of the more sexual housewives, I would say. So she's like really enjoying it, and of course, Luann will eat it up.
So does she cheat on Josh?
There might be a little smooch.
Oh my
On
god!
the
Well,
first
maybe
episode.
I bet Josh. Well, if I know Josh, like I think I do, he's probably saying you can do Love Hotel and you can make out or have sex with anybody, but I know our love is more powerful than that. So when you come home, come back to me.
I'm gonna have whenever I get married, I'm gonna have a reality TV dating show clause where infidelity is allowed if it's for participation in a show where I have to date.
I think that's a really good thing that almost everyone should consider, especially Bravo celebrities and you and
The
I
Ashley
for
Darby
sure.
clause.
I was thinking, like, yeah, when you and I were applying to be on Vanderpump Villa, which thank God we weren't on it, but if we were applying for Vanderpump Villa, I was like, I reserve the right for you and I to cheat with other people on our significant others because we need to provide drama on that show.
Right.
So if we cheated with Marciano or Hannah, I think that's a great idea too.
Yeah.
If you're in the reality television space, like, and you're dating John Jansen, or he's the first person that popped into my mind. Shannon should still be able to go on Love Hotel and cheat on John Jansen, and he should allow that. That's a great thing that you brought up.
I think Stassi should also add a clause that she's allowed to act like a psycho, and it's extramarital. It doesn't count. I also tried to watch Vanderpump Villa, and it was so boring, and I was like, it took so long for Stassi to get there, but luckily I did see lots of clips on TikTok, including the one where she reams out Beau for not having her name tatted on him, which is funny because the whole thing on Vanderpump was that it was so psycho that Jax did that.
I thought that was a wild clip to watch. Yeah, I watched all the Stassi clips. Stassi kind of gets her own show in 5-minute increments throughout Vanderpump Villa, but then you have to put up with just pure shit. It's such a horrible cast. It's such a horrible concept. Lisa is trying to do her best, but it just everything about it doesn't work. And I feel bad that Stassi's reintroduction to television had to be on this piece of shit show, and I hope this isn't an indication of what Vanderpump Rules season 12 is going to be like, because if that's true, that's going to be absolutely rough. But Stassi, I did hear that Stassi said that I didn't get to the final episode, so please, give Amy and I grace, but I heard that she introduces her full cast of Stassi Says on the final episode to get us warmed up to
sense.
See them on the thing. But so well, maybe I'll finish Vanderpump Villa, but I really did not appreciate the first two that I watched. I'm repulsed by the cast.
Yeah, it's a little rough. I also saw a clip where Stassi said that Hartford, her small daughter, became obsessed with Lisa Vanderpump, and they started using it as a bribery tactic where they'd be like, if you don't get in the bath right now, you're not going to get to see Lisa. And she'd be like, no!
Oh my God. So to get Hartford to take her nightly bath, they have to say, you get to see Lisa once you're clean from your bath. Wow. I wonder how Stassi feels about Lisa being the Holy Grail.
I simply adore little children. And apparently Hartford said she's going to marry Teddy, Lisa's grandson. And I was like, oh my God, can you imagine if Stassi had to deal with that forever?
Oh my God, I couldn't. I couldn't even imagine. They're linked, forever now. Now that they re-established their relationship, they're reforged with this Hulu deal. I saw one thing. It was so sad when Ken, he was eating this wonderful dinner and then he spilled a full goblet of wine all over the table. Did you see that?
No.
Yeah, and Lisa goes, Marciano's the one who should be spilling, not my husband Ken.
Oh, that's sad. Last thing I'll say on this topic is that Kristen was on some podcast. Sorry, I don't remember which one. There's too many. And she said that apparently Sheena has prepared to spill the tea and burn the bridge in her book about Lisa.
No way.
Yeah.
Sheena's ready to. What's it called when you? She's gonna go scorched earth on Lisa in her memoir and talk about. Oh my God, we know there are so many things bubbling up about Lisa Vanderpump that are starting to come to the surface. And now that she lost these people that were in the vault with her cast of 11 years, now that she's released them to the wolves, they're not going to hold back. They're all going to tell all of their Lisa stories. Wait for 5 years. We're going to get 5 different Lisa exposés. Not that I'm not saying for a matter of fact, but I think we've shared on Turtle Time that there's a couple stories that we heard about Lisa recently where there were not the most flattering portraits of what Lisa's doing behind the scenes. I don't think that's, I'm not speaking out of school there.
This is the real reality reckoning, so... Yeah.
Oh my God, I cannot wait. We need to ask that wonderful Villa Rosa VIP. We got to get early access.
If we say it on camera every single week, maybe we'll follow up on that.
Yeah. Oh, last thing I'll say, because I want news to be 1 hour long. Lala popped her head back in the news. I always love when I see Lala Bravo updates because it's always like, she's like, I'm going to talk about Scandival again. And everybody's like, they always make it to the news alerts. But Sheena released a thing. Maybe this was on the after show. Apologies. I don't know what the source was. But she said, Sheena goes, Lala got one of the best vindictive moves against Sandoval during the height of Scandival. She was telling her Amazon Live all of her hypothetical baby names for what Sosa was potentially going to be named. And she goes, and she gave her a big fuck you to Sandoval because apparently Sandoval had told anyone who would listen what his son's name would be to everyone of his most desired son's name. He would always say it. And so Lala, you said, I'm going to take over and claim that name and pretend like it was one of my names and release it to the world so that Tom Sandoval, if he ever has a child, will be accused of stealing Lala's baby name.
What was it?
It was either, so they didn't get to the specifics. I have to watch the Amazon Live. I'll do this after, and we'll talk about it next Turtle Time. But it was either Lion, Ram, or I believe Sosa. No, I don't think she said Sosa. So people are deciding whether it was Lion, Ram, or one other one. Quite possibly Lion, if I was guessing.
All right. I'll think about that.
Me too. I'm going to think about it probably for the rest of the night or in the rest of the...
He can't make it Lion Sandoval.
I think...
Like he's lying, like scumbag and cheaters, Lion. Sandoval's a liar.
That one probably... Let's give Lala a benefit of the doubt.
Sandoval's a lion.
Sandoval's a lion. Well, yeah, you're right. Maybe it's quite possible that Lala was saying, I know that thing is torched because you would never name your kid Lion
That's
Sandoval.
like a Trump name, like Lion Tom Sandoval.
You're right. Yeah, because I was kind of like, why did Lala do that? It sounded a little too far to like claim a baby's name that Tom had always loved. But I think she was probably like, this is burnt to a crisp because he's never going to name his kid Lion Sandoval after Scandival. He went on Johnny Bananas. I would have. He went on ripe talk with Johnny Banana or ripe. Right, I don't know, peeling the layers back with Johnny Bananas or something, and he was going on a tirade about Scandival again. It's like he didn't learn his lesson. He was like, and another thing. He was like, when all the other scandals happened with my cast members, I didn't say one goddamn word. But then they all piled on me for Scandival. I was like, Tom, no, it's you. Let's move forward. Ago. Yeah, we move forward. No more grudges. You're moving forward. You don't have to talk about Scandival, especially in a grieved manner. You know what I mean?
I'm gonna go up to him and be like, "I'm so hungry. I could eat Lion Sandoval," and he'll be like, "Where'd you hear that?"
Oh my God! He'll be like, "I didn't get the." Yeah, he'll have no idea where that came from. You definitely should. I've seen that trend, so I know exactly what you're talking about.
I saw one that was Madison Marie Parks Valletta. It was funny.
Oh my God, who was it to?
It was just like two girls, and the other one was like, wow, how do I know that name?
I don't really get this trend, and nor do I think it's going to last, possibly not for the full summer, but I did see Jesse Solomon did it to Carl, and he goes, I could eat one of the Workus twins, Ashley or Lauren, and Carl gave the classic face where he's like, how do you know those twins? It was kind of silly.
Yeah, there's some good ones out there. Jimmy doesn't think it's funny, and I keep trying to show him, and he's like, "It's stupid." I'm like, "It makes me laugh so hard."
Yeah, I don't get it. I don't get it, but
It's just the shock of like, because if people have no idea that that's a prank, like very commonly people think that they're like having an out of body
Yeah.
experience or like something is glitching because they're like, "What?"
Yeah. All right. Well, maybe I'll watch a couple more. I only saw the Jesse Solomon one, but
That
I'll
one
keep.
sucked because I was like, he would know who the Workus twins are.
Yeah,
you know?
I was pissed.
Right.
All right. Okay. Wow, that was definitely some news. That was some news. Okay. All right. Well, speaking of new episodes of something, I have to say, let's talk about the latest episode of The Valley. I think it has the best Bravo title I've seen, possibly since we've started Turtle Time. No, that can't be true. But in the last 6 months, it's called The Billionaire and the Boys Chat. And I said, when I saw that, I go, what the fuck is this going to be about? I had no clue, but I was so excited that we were going to talk about the boys' chat again. And I just thought it was a wonderful title.
Yeah. It's it kind of sounds like one of our pod titles, I think.
It really does.
I think is the highest compliment.
I mean, they're always so good. I thought this was a wonderful episode. I'll just say before we get into it, I kind of realized I needed a little bit of a break, and I needed the Valley to fire on a different cylinder, not just the darkest. Heaviest shit of Jax throwing a bunch of shit and going to a mental health facility. I was glad to see the cast move forward and more sort of a season 1 arc starts to come back with all of still the hallmarks of an amazing Valley episode. So I really had a lot of fun, and there was a lot of little moments that I absolutely love, like Dave and Buster's and Northridge and just some stray moments. So I really appreciated this episode. How about you?
It was nice. My friends were texting me that they were afraid to watch the new episode, and I was like, let me just tell you without any detail that you needn't be afraid. It is not upsetting, generally speaking.
Yeah, a little bit of a palate cleanser. They only have, that music, ominous music at the very start, a bunch of crows, black and white, and then it's Jason pulling up to the mental health facility, and Jax walks out, and I was surprised because I thought that we're going to see a little something from this, like not checking in, but a little more. But no, it's like 5 seconds, and then it's over completely. And the rest of the episode, they're talking about Jax, but there's absolutely no Jax for the rest of the episode. It's like kind of out of sight, out of mind. Besides the conversations they have about him.
Totally. So he's donezo. Then Brittany's at home still. Cruz is still swimming. And Jason, after he drops off, Jason Couchy comes back to check on Brittany. And, and she's like, did you for sure see him walk into the facility? Like, she will not believe that he actually entered and checked in. Like, she's like, are you sure he actually went?
And he says, we checked him in, so it was official. Like he got in there, and Brittany keeps saying, she's like, I want him to take this seriously. He needs to take this seriously. And Jason goes, well, just so you know, he was having a hard time in the car. And they show a little peek at what Jax was doing, and he's still doing the Brittany is just like me. She does everything like me. She snorts coke. She screams, she had sex with Julian, and he's not realizing that his behavior is the reason for why he's going. It doesn't matter what Brittany has done. It's the fact that he's become absolutely unhinged, and people feel scared around him. So I was, again, we kind of talked about this last week, that the impetus for Jax getting treatment was not the most noble. It wasn't the most noble intentions that Jax had. He kind of went in kicking and screaming a little bit.
Right. Yeah. He claimed on last week's after show that the rehab saved his life, which I thought was interesting considering he didn't stay.
I know. I still, now that we're in watching the actual episodes, I'm like, 2 different 17-day stays to equate to 32. Like, does anybody recommend that? Like,
right.
I'm worried about the method there of,
Right.
of doing that, and if quite possibly the 30 days is kind of integral to the process, staying
Yeah.
there and completely changing your life.
Yeah, Jason was like, I told him, like, who wouldn't want to go get a little moment to rehab yourself for 30 days? Like, I think anyone could benefit from that. And I'm sure Jax fully agreed.
I said I was nodding my head. I go, Jason, I would love to
Lock me up.
check in for, oh my God, for 30 days just to focus on myself. I think that would be so
That's what
good.
Janet was saying. She was like, I don't think Jax ever hit rock bottom because when Brittany took Cruz and moved out, he was like, hell yeah, like I could live like this. Like I get the whole house to myself. I get to do
Oh,
whatever I want. Like he wasn't like, oh no, my life is shattered. He's like, fuck yeah.
oh my God, yeah, he was watching girls, and he was rolling around like a pig in shit in his house. She also goes, Jax, I know Jax. I've known him for so many years. He's gonna have that place wrapped around his finger if you give him too long in there. He's gonna be starting to, like he said, leading the meetings, telling people when they should leave and when they should come back, and so she's worried. She was worried that he's gonna have that sort of impact there, which he kind of he ended up saying that he kind
Yeah.
of took over in there.
Scary.
Like, they were
Just
saying
chilling.
they were saying he, I think he won a hot mic or something. He said that one of the psychologists let him lead one of the sessions for 45
I'm
minutes.
picturing like the Joker in the nurse's dress. Like he's just completely insane. Um, I am so scared of him.
Yeah.
And then Janet and Michelle come over to check in on Brittany. Everyone keeps knocking on the door, and Brittany goes, "Come on!"
Yeah, yes, it was awesome. It was nice. I was kind of I like the natural divide in this group, and you notice it a lot in this episode. But it's not like with Janet and Kristen, where she was ostracizing Kristen, forcing her out. Instead, it's a natural divide based off the group's actions, and you realize that Brittany is still the bridge, just like she was on Vanderpump Rules. She's the bridge between these two groups. So kind of Janet and Michelle get their time, and then later in the episode, she has her Zach and Kristen time, which I thought was
Right.
interesting, that Brittany can kind of navigate through both groups.
Yeah. I was glad that because Brittany kept wanting to fill them in on everything that had happened, and Cruz wanted to hug her and play in the room and hang out. And I was like, yes, please wait until he's gone. It's like so sad when he's involved hearing all this shit. So they get their food, and luckily I think Zuli takes him away, and so they can talk about, she's like, I told him if he doesn't actually do this, then I'm filing, I'm getting the restraining order, and I'm going to get custody. And like I said before, Michelle is like, you should file tomorrow and never look back, which I'm like, that's probably the best idea while he's away. Like,
It's perfect.
you get a total head start.
Get your ducks in a row, and
Yeah.
then do the Sopranos method, where you go to every lawyer in town,
Yes.
so that Jax can't get a good one while he's.
Yeah.
Before, I liked when Jason, before he left, he goes, every day that he's in there, he's a wonderful father. Every day that he's in there and he's doing the right thing, he's a wonderful father. Every day he's messing up in there, he's a bad father. And Brittany goes, oh my God, did you say that to him? And he goes, no, I'm sorry, I just thought of that now, but I wish I did. And she goes, oh, well, that is the right sentiment. I thought that was kind of a funny moment. And it was sweet. A Janet and Jason moment was really sweet. When he leaves, she goes, honey, you did a good thing today. And he goes, I just drove somebody for 30 minutes out of town. She goes, but he wouldn't have gone with anybody else but you. And then they kiss. I was like, damn, I'm loving this Jason Janet energy. Janet was actually really fun this episode. I won't step on it.
In her element.
Totally.
Okay, then we get Kristen and Luke visit Jesse, which I'm like still calibrating to Kristen being buddies with Jesse. It's
I
so
love it.
weird.
The most iconic trio I've ever seen in reality television history. Luke,
I
Kristen,
don't know
and
if I'd
Jesse.
include Luke in that, but go on.
And oh my God, were you licking your lips? And
Yes.
what's me too? I wanted this so bad.
Regardless of what you're gonna say,
Oh,
I was licking my lips.
When no, when Jesse pulled out this silver
Oh yeah,
tea and coffee set with Nutella, croissants, every type of baked goods. It was one of the nicest breakfast platters I've ever seen in my
See,
life.
that is a good reason to get married, just to continue the retired tradition of getting silver and china.
Oh yeah. We still, when my wife and I got married, we still have one of the best tea sets you've ever seen, and a huge platter that we love to eat off of. Kristen and Luke arrive. They're here. And this is when they immediately, Kristen identifies again as Team Jesse, like we've already said. And she goes, this is so fun to show up. She doesn't even want to touch the tea set because she doesn't want to leave fingerprints. He goes, I don't give a shit about this tea set anymore. It's from my Michelle and my marriage. And then he goes, this is when he goes into a huge conspiracy that he has. He says, listen, Luke and Kristen, my new best friends, I think Aaron and Michelle have been cheating on each other for 2 years, on and off. And then Kristen has to clarify, and she says to the audience, she goes, just so you all know, it wasn't Aaron who I was talking about when I said that Michelle had a boyfriend for a year. So that makes you think that, there's possibly 2 instances of cheating, which is what Jesse believes if it wasn't Aaron. He thinks he's busted Michelle possibly twice in cheating scandals.
I kind of loved this conspiracy theory because I was like, regardless of anything, it's fun to think about. I love stupid little details like this.
And it was perfect for Kristen, too.
Yeah. He said that apparently this guy has a honey brand, and he's like, that motherfucking honey has been in my cabinet for 2 years. And then one time while we were still together, I went to go buy the honey and I couldn't find it at the store. And she goes, I get it at this place near Runyon. And guess where he lives? Near Runyon. And she would always go on little hikes where she would look cute and be like, I just went on a hike at Runyon. And he was always suspicious about that. And I was like, I love the smoking gun that's the artisanal honey.
Oh, me too. It was like a Raymond Chandler novel. Full face of makeup, and Kristen goes, no one goes to Runyon with a full face of makeup, and she didn't wear her wedding ring, so it's quite... Right. And then the honey, like you said, it wasn't available in Whole Foods, so it's a huge... I mean, it sounded believable to me. I mean, until I hear Michelle's counter evidence, I was all in on this.
Yeah, it's really fun because I don't like Michelle either. So all of the stuff that's going against her in this episode, I'm like, I'll entertain it.
Yeah, and what's very shocking is that it's not only you and possibly the audience who don't appreciate Michelle. I absolutely love her. I can't get enough. But
you and Quentin.
Yeah, me and Quentin. But the cast seems to actually be divided, which I swear on a different show, Jesse would be dead in a ditch, metaphorically, if this was all going on. But the fact that Jasmine's like, hey, I like Jesse, and Kristen is on Jesse's team.
Jasmine's like very level-headed, so when she won't side with you, you're like, uh-oh.
And Nia, never in my life would I think that Nia would possibly be joining Team Jesse. So all of those people give me evidence towards there being this divide that maybe a lot of people don't fuck with Michelle, to be frank. Have you had that kilo honey, by the way?
No, I don't know where I would get it.
No, it's available in Whole Foods now.
It is now?
It's I've had it before. It makes all honey taste like absolute shit once you've had kilo. And then Jesse says after this, he goes, this getaway, I'm planning a huge wine tasting event in Santa Barbara, but I think I will still, because it makes sense, invite Aaron and Michelle to stay in the house despite this, because I don't want there to be more drama about her not being invited, I guess is the pretense for why they're being invited.
Yeah, like I don't want to be blamed as a monster for leaving her out, probably. And then Kristen's like, I would be happy to help you plan. I'm really good at stuff like that. So it's kind of like it's Jesse's trip with Kristen assisting on the side, which is important for later. And then Janet calls Kristen at the same time and invites her to Dave & Buster's because she's also going to include everyone, which I feel like in both cases they're like, we want the whole cast there.
I think so too, but also I felt like it was very big of Janet to say, even though our white party conversation, I didn't get the scene I wanted, and the apology didn't go well, and I had too much hubris to accept, or ego to accept your apology. She's kind of like, I'm not letting this thing spin out for another few episodes. I'm just inviting you right to your face to Dave & Buster's. I thought that was a really nice step for Janet. And then Kristen, in the moment, she can't decide whether or not she can't commit, but ultimately we know she does, which I was very happy with. I want to see if they can navigate that friendship.
Agree. Okay, then we get Nia and Kristen doing fertility acupuncture because apparently it worked well for Nia, who had fertility issues on her first pregnancy, and Kristen reveals that her psychic told her that there is a soul waiting for her to bring her to Earth. And it was sad. She was like, I hope it's not the soul that was my lost pregnancy. But I feel like Kristen, frankly, like through this whole situation, she's obviously like been through a lot in this regard, and she takes it like a champ. Like she's like strong in, and likes bringing up this stuff for the general public to make it like a topic of conversation, which I appreciate.
Me too. Yeah, it was a really sweet scene. I was like, damn, I'm all in on fertility acupuncture. It seemed like it really worked for Nia, and then Kristen got pregnant like shortly after this, right?
That's
or a
true.
couple months after. I was like, damn, like there might be something to that. And then we find out they have this sweet moment. It was a really, like you said, very nice, sweet moment between Nia and Kristen. And also Nia doesn't get the most spotlight, unfortunately. I don't think that was the case in season 1, and so it was nice for her to have her own sort of scene with a heavy hitter with Kristen. But then we find out that something else is going on the other side of the valley, and that is that Luke is going to meet up with Danny, and Danny's got all 3 kids on his own, and Luke is going to go just talk to Danny for a little bit about I don't remember what the original impetus is for it, but just
I think
to have
he's like claiming to be helping him with the kids while they're at that appointment.
Oh, yeah, I had no clue. I kept looking. I was looking at what all the babies were doing, and it was so funny to watch all the cuts, because one baby would be like on his shoulders, and then that same baby would be on the coffee table in the next shot, and then in the next shot they'd be by Luke like reading a book. I was just like, how the hell could he ever have a scene where he's talking to someone about important shit, and under 3 kids are on the loose, bottle feeding and playing? I was like, oh my God. And then Danny Kristen at first, before she leaves, she says in her scene, she goes, they both talk about the marriage stuff. And she goes, not to quote Taylor Swift, but I would get married with a paper ring. And then that's also what Luke and Danny want to talk about as well.
Right. Yes. They're talking about both fertility and marriage. Luke is like, I don't get why we don't just do it 3 times a day. And Danny's like, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, that I said, say that for the boys chat. Also, Luke goes, I say if we're making love 3 times a day for 7 days a week, problem solved. And Kristen says, if we're doing that, I won't be able to get out of bed or walk for a week.
Well, tell that to all the other housewives that claim to have sex that often.
It's true. Kristen kind of put a hole in that theory, because I've heard from so many Bravo celebrities that they have sex 3 times a day, every single day.
Yeah, to quote Colin Farrell, breakfast, lunch, and fucking dinner.
Oh my God!
If you know, you know.
I think I know exactly what you're talking about. I won't say it. But then Luke goes, okay. Then Luke goes, guess what, Danny? You just asked me about the proposal, or what? Danny goes, what are you waiting for? And he goes, I'm actually thinking about a proposal. I got a big thing brewing. And he goes, I haven't told anybody but you, Danny. And Danny goes, that means a lot to me, Luke. Don't worry. I'm like Fort Knox, a famously very hard to get to vault.
Where the gold is at.
Where all the gold is at. And then Danny goes, he thinks the cameras are off him for a second.
Yeah.
He goes, those 2 camera people are playing with my kids, and a producer is also playing with my kid. So guess what? Have you seen the boys chat recently? And then Luke goes, I'm not in it. I want to get in it so bad, but they won't let me in. And he goes, yeah, I know. I just got in it. And then he goes, Jason's not in it either. He has
an Android.
He's got an Android. I love all this detail.
Green. His text turned green.
Yeah, and then I was thinking, yeah, and then okay, and then Danny goes, I have to mute it. It's so disgusting. I can't even look at this thing. And then they go to the confessionals, and they're all talking about the relationship to the boys chat. And that's when Jason says, I have an Android, so I can't get it. Danny muted it. And Jesse goes, I got Rookie of the Year. When they were doing the trophy for a 1 full year completed in the boys chat, he got Rookie of the Year for being the first person to send the Hawk Tua interview to the boys chat. And then... And then Danny goes, hey, I don't think they're listening to me. He goes, guess what Jesse said? He didn't say it was a joke. He said, how does Michelle pay for what to live?
Her place, yeah.
Her place, and he goes, Jesse says that she gets $1,500 a night for fucking or having sex with a billionaire, and then Luke, what is Luke's kind of reaction? He's kind of he takes it in stride.
He's laughing. Right? They're both kind of like, "Whoa, haha," and then the kids are like, "Hey."
Yeah, so that's going to that revelation. I have to say is going to be brought up a few more times throughout the episode, yes. Right? What do you think Danny's intention? I have to think that Danny knows that at the end of the season that would be combed through, but did he really have enough naivete to think that Luke wouldn't share that information? Right. The way he was talking about it, though, was kind of like, let me clue you in on a secret. I don't think you're going to use this against me. I think this is just kind of fun boys talk.
Right.
So I don't know what he was thinking.
He can't be that naive. It's the reality TV pipeline. Like, once you pop, it's going to flow all the way through. But
right.
They also alluded to the boys chat having a lot of locker room talk, which I feel like is a thoroughly cursed phrase post 2016. That could mean the worst of things.
Oh, absolutely. I one thing comes to mind when I think about locker room talk. I mean, it's, again, we've talked about this, but I have to I want to know a peek at what the hell is going on there. I mean, they're like, it just sounds like Rookie of the Year for whatever the hell.
Do they use like one of those apps, like how my Fitbit has all the little badges, or like Audible, like how they badgeify everything, and it really keeps me like a rat on a hamster wheel, where they're like, you've unlocked the length of the Nile, or like the Pioneer badge for discovering a book that no one else has read, or whatever. I'm always like, hell yeah.
Yeah, like you sent 7 tweets in a row. Keep going. You're getting to your goal of sending 10 in a row texts back and forth. I bet the reactions are going crazy in there.
Oh, yeah. They're just popping off.
Ha ha. Exclamation point.
Custom
thumbs up.
Stickers, maybe.
Oh my God! I bet that's how when Jesse said guess what? She's having sex with a billionaire for $1,500. I bet that's when they gave the trophy reaction to that instantly. But it's kind of
put a Quentin Tarantino sticker on.
Oh, that'd be, oh God!
Foot.
Oh my God! Next time we're with one of those boys, I guess it has to be Danny, because I think he's the only.
He's the mole.
I think he's the mole. I think he's the only one who would give us a little peek at what's going on. I have to see that. Maybe the next time we're at Jax's Studio City together.
Oh my God, yes. Okay, and then Jason and Jesse are together.
Yes.
And they go to some weird ass coffee shop, which I was like, this location sucks.
Lee's Coffee. Yeah, and unfortunately, Jesse had to drive about 35 or 40 minutes to meet for coffee with Jason. But I did love that Jesse and Jason got a scene. Again, the more they have scenes like this, it shows the power of all these different dynamics and gets these cast members secured for additional seasons. So I remember thinking Jason was not very integral to the plot of season 1. But if you keep having scenes with Jesse like this, you're in for a long time. And of course, he's married to Janet.
Jax too.
Yeah, and Jax as well. Yeah. Jesse, when he pops in, he goes, it's 30 degrees hotter in the valley. And I know you marked this. Jason gives the original tagline for the Valley season 2. He goes, if you can't stand the heat, get the fuck out of the valley. Which, we've talked about this, right, on main feed Turtle Time.
Do you think the producers heard him say that and were like, write it down?
Absolutely. Jeremy on the show notes for the day said, Jason just said one of the coolest things I've ever heard in my life. He told Jesse to get the fuck out of the valley if he can't stand the heat. And then it was unfortunately timed with, we remember this, the fire. So they couldn't use that tagline. Right. But Jason gets a lot of credit for that.
Well, I was like, because Jesse is like, Jesus Christ, it's like 30 degrees cooler in Hollywood where I'm from. And I'm like, well, guess what? It's 30 degrees cooler than that by the beach. So, we all have our limits.
Right. So fuck off. You could be living on the beach, right?
Go to Orange County, bitch.
Where
like
I
you
live.
said you would.
Yeah. Oh my God. He said he would. He said he would love to go to Orange County.
I mean, when it's hot, that's the right choice.
Yeah. In Pasadena, unfortunately, I found out it's about 15 to 20 degrees warmer. 15 maybe.
My parents live by the beach, and it's so nice down there.
Oh, my God. Do you think we'll have a beach house someday?
Please.
Okay, Jason alludes to the fact that Janet is having a major blowout at Dave and Buster's, and they go, "Are you going to get drunk at Dave and Buster's? I think we should." And they're all like, "Yeah, of course we will." And then Jesse goes, "But what the fuck's going on with Danny when he gets drunk?" And this was one of the biggest reveals I've ever heard in my life. I couldn't believe how they handled this thing. They go, "What about Danny and at Halloween, that Halloween party that we had? He was dressed up like one of the twins from The Shining." And he apparently, they go, Jesse's leading it up. He goes, "He doesn't get to drink like you and I. We drink on the weekends. We blow off steam after the office. But Danny, he doesn't get to drink like that. He goes one time, once every 3 months, and he blows off a lot of steam and gets drunk as hell. But unfortunately, drunk Danny did a bad thing on Halloween," right?
He accosted Jasmine and her girlfriend. He said to Jasmine, he was like, "Hey, Jasmine, why don't you go ahead and get Daddy a drink?" And then pinched her girlfriend's ass.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. They really set the scene for this. Jason says that he was referring to himself as Daddy, and then he said when she went to go get a drink for Daddy, that's when Danny goes. Danny went for a huge ass or butt grab on Jasmine's girlfriend. So he had a horrible night, a drunken nightmare of a night. And then I couldn't believe that Danny kind of got away with this thing, at least for this episode. They just show a flashback from 5 days ago where Jasmine and what's her girlfriend's name? Oh shit. She's gonna be so pissed. Well, where they talk to him and he goes, "Oh my God, I am so sorry. That is a different Danny that comes out." But I couldn't believe that he said to get Daddy a drink. It was
Melissa Marie.
Melissa.
That's her name.
Okay, yeah, and so he kind of got off on this one a little bit, unless it rears its head. Oh, it does.
Nia cries about it later in the upcoming.
Because in the trailer they said Danny's grabbing ass all over town.
Right, which that sucks. That's stressful. It's more stressful when it's the unassuming ones rather than if it was like Jesse or something. You'd be like, "Yeah, he's a demon," like of course. But it's like, oh, they're all bad.
I can't. Yeah, Danny, that was definitely a shocking one. I couldn't believe it. And so they said that he hopefully won't get drunk like that at Dave and Buster's.
Right. And then Jesse is like, "By the way, there's a fucking Dave and Buster's in Hollywood." When I opened the invite and saw that it was Dave and Buster's Northridge, I was agog. And I also scrumped a scream because I definitely thought they were going to Hollywood and Highland. And I didn't even... Northridge, I'm like, could that even be further?
No.
I mean, I guess not for them, but...
Yeah. No, better for filming, I have to assume. And less busy. Could you imagine the production crew at... the Hollywood and Highland one.
True.
It just couldn't work. But Jesse was pissed.
Yeah, I would be too. He's like, "Are you going to pay for my $200 Uber?"
Yeah.
Okay, then we get, before Dave and Buster's, Kristen, Luke, and Zach go over to Brittany's. Zach is there, but he's not joining. He's not going to go. I liked, there was a moment when Zach is like, "Well, if Janet thinks that I'm Kristen's demonic friend," and it had flames and gave him a demon voice, and I was like, that was fun.
Yeah, that was really fun. I had to rewind. I was like, what the hell did they just do? They put a bunch of flames under him while they were doing that. That was very fun.
And then Luke is like, "Well, while I'm here, I have to pay it forward what I was told. Just so you guys know, Danny told me that Jessie said that she sleeps with a billionaire for $1,500 a night." And he's like, "I don't play these games of telephone, so I'm just going to say exactly what I heard, and then there will be no confusion." And they're all like, "Oh my God." Kristen's like, "I just became Team Jesse. Now I have to deal with this." Brittany's like, "That guy's chat has 25 to 30 guys on it. It's just too much. If you want your divorce to go smoothly, maybe don't accuse your wife of being a hooker."
Yes, totally. Again, they cannot believe what's going on in that chat between them. So instantly, Luke. Luke had a justification for why he did that, right? He says, "I just wanted to cut straight to the chase and weed out the middle person and just tell the true truth about what happened." Right? I didn't really understand.
Yeah, I think he just wanted to have a scene, so he was like, "I don't give a shit about anything. I'll do this." And
Yeah.
I'm sure Kristen was like, "You have to fucking spill." Like,
Yeah. He spilled for sure. He instantly spilled that to the person who, is soon going to hear it very quickly. Okay, and then we are at Dave and Buster's, right?
yes.
Did you see the sign right when they walked in?
What did it say?
Eat at Buster's.
Oh.
I think they're trying to advertise that Dave and Buster's, in addition to just getting drunk and playing games, you can also eat a bunch of their food. So it's kind of like a new campaign that they're running called Eat at Buster's.
Yeah, they kept like really trying to make it the most novel, funny, kooky thing in the world that Janet loves Dave and Buster's, and I'm like, everybody likes it there. Like, that's not even unique. Like, they were acting like it was the kookiest manic pixie dream girl thing in the world, and I'm like, yeah, it's like always packed.
People love it for sure. I think I got swayed. I think I was like Zach Braff in Garden State. I got swept away by the manic pixie dream girl, Janet, because I did like that it seemed like she actually knew her shit. This wasn't just a put upon affectation. She actually came to play those games, get $25,000 tickets. She knew she had a fanny pack. Like it seemed like this is her heaven. It was like me going to Chili's or something, where I'm not faking it when I go there.
Yeah.
Like I get the molten chocolate cake.
That was like one of the first things we learned about her. Like, maybe there was a Scandival clue at one of her past Dave and Buster's birthdays. Like, it's something that predates the show. So I believe it. I'm just like, it's not,
Not it may be
particularly charming to
in
me.
this group. I get it. I totally, and I wasn't charmed. Well, I was. Why am I lying? I was charmed. I kept laughing and
It
smiling.
made me want to go to Dave's.
Yeah.
And I appreciate the fanny pack tip. That is a good idea.
Yes, yeah, and I like the tip. We're going to get into these tips. We have to talk about them. But I loved peeking at the drones and stuff, and getting a view of what you want to accrue tickets for ahead. I thought that was really fun. But maybe it's unique to this group. She's the manic pixie dream girl of them for them. Like Jesse, he's never been to a Dave and Buster's in his goddamn life.
He's like, what the fuck is this?
And Michelle,
he's too fancy.
Michelle hasn't
right.
either. And Janet goes, I don't know. Michelle, I don't know what she thought this was. A wonderful, fancy cocktail lounge, but she had no clue what she was in for. And she goes, me and Michelle are different. Michelle likes acai juice from GoBerry. I like Diet Coke, kind of like.
Yeah. She was like, she likes smoked salmon and I like corn dogs. Like, you could see her struggling to come up with like a fancy example. And I was like, smoked salmon?
Yeah. Yeah, maybe that is.
You should have said caviar or something. Like, I was like, you can get smoked salmon at Trader Joe's for like $7.
I have some in my fridge.
Yeah, right. It's for the people.
I would have said, yeah. I think you hit the nail on the head. She likes caviar. I'm fine with corn dog.
She wears short skirts. I wear t-shirts, kind of a thing.
Totally. You could imagine it's almost endless what you could have said. She likes potatoes au gratin. I like hash browns from McDonald's.
Those will cost you. Fucking hash browns at McDonald's are like $4 now.
Oh my God.
Don't get me started.
I'm so sorry about what's going on at McDonald's. She likes...
Yeah, I like just comparing things that are just apples and oranges. Like, you're just like, she likes penne arrabbiata and I like fettuccine alfredo. We couldn't be more different.
Yeah, that's fun. Yeah. Yeah, she likes it. Well, anyway. Okay. Aaron is having the time of his life. He's running around like the Tasmanian devil in Dave and Buster's.
He has Ramona eyes, by the way.
Yeah, he's going, oh my God, he's going, I want so many tickets. He goes, I love Dave and Buster's. I just chugged a beer. He goes, Jason, swap shirts with me. I was going to wear this shirt. He goes, by the end of the night, me and Jason are going to swap shirts. I was like, oh my God, Aaron's having the time of his life.
Yeah, big Jax energy. Then Jesse arrives. Nia she hugs him and she's like, oh, I don't want to get makeup on you. And he's like, oh, whatever. And then Michelle's like, well, when I was with him, I wasn't allowed to wear makeup at all so that it didn't get on him. Like, she literally cannot refuse an opportunity to talk shit about how horrible he is.
What'd you think about that one? Right when he walked up that final step of Dave and Buster's
annoying.
Yes, as upset as she was with him, and I'm I'm not downplaying what he's done. It was pretty quick to throw a huge jab at him right when he's there. It wasn't even to someone after he left. She's like, he told me all of my life to never wear makeup because he hates girls that get makeup on his shirt. I couldn't believe it, actually.
Yeah, I think they're both bad. I think he's probably worse. He's scarier, but he said, I think on the after show, something like that she moved in with Aaron without telling him or like clearing it first, because obviously like their daughter would be with them or whatever. And she was like, when she told him, she included in the sentence like, and I already confirmed with my lawyers, there's nothing you can do about it.
Oh my God. Wow.
So I think they just communicate in the most like heinous way possible at every turn.
They live in the house together?
Yeah.
Wow. The honey house.
I guess so. The honey pot.
The house that Honey built. Then Janet says,
episode title.
The house that Honey built. Let's put a little marker on that. Okay, Janet. This is when Janet gives her keys to success for Dave & Buster's. I will do all of these if I ever go to Dave & Buster's again in my life. Maybe I will sooner rather than later. Dress for success. Wear loose-fitting clothing so that you can run and jump and play every type of game. Dance Dance Revolution, basketball. Wear a fanny pack to hold all of your tickets, go to the prize room to scope it out, and then map out how you're going to get the tickets to afford the ding ding light, and then
Right.
ding 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 light in a drone, and then you do the high ticket games, and then you just play your ass off until you can get that toy.
Yeah. I've never had that level of focus when I've been there, where I really decided on what I wanted, and then I never have enough tickets to get anything good, and usually I'll like give them to a kid or something. Like I'll be like, do you want these?
I was lucky enough to get one of those gooey arm not candy, gooey arm stickers where you do you know what I'm talking about? You fling it and then
slap a hand onto the wall.
Yeah, on YouTube you can see what I'm doing, demonstrating. You throw it like this, and a sticky hand kind of grabs.
Yeah, that's about what you usually would get. Like I don't even dream of getting those crazy big ticket items. I'm like, what little keychain bullshit am I gonna get? You know?
Yeah, same here. And then Brittany goes, I need to clear the air immediately. Get over here, Nia and Michelle. Oh, I couldn't believe it. But Brittany says what we've all heard now. Michelle sleeps with a billionaire every single night and gets $1,500 a night for every single time she sleeps with them. And then Michelle instantly gets so upset. I felt her pain there. It's so acrimonious with Jesse. It's so shitty. She doesn't know that it's a joke. She thinks it's just him talking fucking shit and starting to spread a rumor on this show. She has a daughter, so she instantly is crying within 5 seconds. Like, I'm living in a nightmare. I got a divorce to get away from this, and he's making my life harder. He just wants revenge on me. Pretty sad. You know, Out of context, it sounds horrible. Right. Jesse says that he was saying it as a joke, but he doesn't care also that it's not being taken as a joke because he doesn't give a shit that he's actually hurting Michelle's feelings at all. Even though I believe it was a joke in the text chain. He was just trying to say a provocative thing to get the boys to give him the thumbs up or the ha-has.
Right. Clickbait.
Yeah.
Nia calls over Danny. They confront him about it, and they're like, what exactly did it say? And he's like, fuck. He's like, oh, man, like, I didn't think this chicken would come to roost. Like, oh, no.
The chickens were coming home to roost one by one in his eyes. I don't think reality television is populated by professionals, and Danny has never been in the center of a scandal before. And so him realizing in real time that what he just said got to them within 5 seconds and they were going to have to talk about it at Dave & Buster's, he didn't know how to operate in that situation. He looks at the camera for a second. I don't know if you saw that. He waits for like 20 seconds before he says anything, and then Brittany's kind of talking for him. She's going, "Is that true? Is that what he said?" And then he barely says that he just says, "This is very bad. It's going to come back to me, but yes, that was said."
Right. Then in his confessional, he's like, come on, Luke, I thought we were boys. Like, you got to keep that on the down low, which, again, it's like, when you bring something up on camera that it's fair game, you know? Like, that happens constantly on Housewives where they're like, you told them I said that. And it's like, well, they were going to find out eventually.
I really like this episode, though, but Luke is not ready to be the torchbearer
for prime time.
Yeah, I mean, I love him with all of my heart, but I just didn't like how artificially that was handled, or how just how fake it kind of seemed to ultimately get to the final source. Although I liked everything about it, once it landed, Right. But anyway, Michelle is very upset. This is when she says, "I just want to fucking get divorced and never talk to him again. I hate him. I can't do this anymore." She's crying to Brittany.
She's like, he's the one who's broke. She's like, he doesn't pay me a cent of child support. Like, he's the one that's struggling. I also, because he says, how does she afford it if she hasn't gotten a commission in years? He said on the after show last week that he sold Sheena and Brock their house. So that's the level of friendship they have. And I was like, oh, I didn't know that tidbit.
Me neither.
They were connected that way.
Imagine the commission on that.
I know. We can do the math.
What is it, 10%?
I'll ask Jimmy.
Yeah.
And then, she's just like crying about how shitty their marriage was. And Luke comes over. And then Danny tells Jesse that he told Luke, that Luke told Brittany, and she told Michelle. And Jesse's like, excellent. Like, this is going to be fantastic.
Yeah, and Jesse has a pretty calm reaction to this. He doesn't care that this is going around, sweeping the Dave & Buster's like wildfire. He's just kind of like, oh, that got out. He's more pissed at Danny for revealing it because he thinks that the boys' chat is sacred.
Right. I also was shocked by this. Jason, Mr. Nice Guy, said, well, the thing about libel and slander, that if it's true, you've got nothing to worry about. And I was like, oh my God.
I know. He thinks, and even Luke, they're not fully saying, I think this is one of the best jokes ever told. They think that there might be some truth to this, which maybe is why Michelle would be so pissed. Jason said, I've never been so happy to have an android in my life. And I thought, android? Call Jason right now on an android and get him a sponsorship to promote Android in a commercial. Do you not want to be implicated in a filthy boys chat with a bunch of naked pictures and horrible jokes? Get an Android.
Yeah, they should do one of those like micro Bravo ads. Isn't it like a funny, like petty thing that the texts turn green and don't participate in? Like, there's no real reason that should happen.
Yes,
they just want to incentivize people to stick with iMessage.
I think I've said that on Turtle Time before. Tim Cook is getting his ass sued right now because Google says there's no reason why our texts have to be that ugly, ugly Turtle Time green. Please.
I love shit like that. Like all the stuff that's happening with the tariffs and stuff where they're like, we're going to put the cost, like the additional cost up on the site. And like, they're like, ugh!
Yeah, no, yeah, it's because that's why Apple gets that beautiful, beautiful blue, and they want to make people get disgusted when they see that green pop up on their phones. I think I know that's even Tim Cook. He said, "Sorry, I didn't go with my initial instinct, which was to make it dark brown with white text." But anyway,
you just can't read it. It like comes a
and
word.
And then Jesse goes, "Well, guess what, everybody? This was pure mole bait. You guys bought it hook, line, and sinker." This was bait to weed out the mole in the chat. I put the most salacious shit in the world out there, and you bought it hook, line, and sinker. The minute that Danny got in this chat, all of a sudden, a bunch of Brittany started to get instant updates on what Jax was doing. So now there's sort of clear evidence that quite possibly Danny is the one that's taking information from this. And it's funny that Jax was, like getting pissed about the mole and stuff. And it's like, what do you think he was writing? It's like, hey, I'm at Hooters with Paige. Please don't tell Brittany. That would be breaking the rule of the boys chat, stuff like that, I guess.
Oh, yeah. And Danny goes, well, I'm not the mole, but I did do some mole-like activity.
Yeah.
And then Jesse is going around blaming Luke. He's like, Luke's tried to start some shit. So he's just like blaming everyone.
But in a murder mystery, Danny would not be the mole. It's too obvious.
You would never suspect.
No, you know what I mean, though? It'd be like, there's just too much evidence that Danny is. I would think that maybe it's possibly one of the other
There's
22.
20 fucking plus people. It could be anyone. And then Janet, they give her sort of like a fun little cut where she's like, I've literally never seen anyone in my life cry at Dave and Buster's. And it keeps cutting to Michelle crying in the corner. And Janet goes, Dave and Buster's is not for serious conversations. It's for fun and games. And they keep cutting back to her having fun.
And she has 2 gigantic beers. And Jason goes, are you going to drink those gigantic beers? And she goes, yes, I'm having the time of my life. I thought that was fun.
Yes. Michelle gets supported by her boyfriend. He hypes her up. And then it gets into her plotting. She goes around to everyone at Dave & Buster's and is like, I have decided that I'm going to buck up and not worry about what just happened. And I will be going to Santa Barbara, but I want everyone to vote for Jesse to have to stay at a hotel while we all stay at the house, which we must clarify that Kristen brings this up. She goes, Jasmine says he's the one planning the trip. Why don't you just not go? Kristen says he's the one that rented the house, which is true. If it was a group trip with a middleman who had booked it, I would be like, all right, fair enough. Yeah. But he literally, it's as if like, in the Housewives universe, someone runs the trip. It's his trip. Yeah. You can't kick him out of his trip. You can stay somewhere else, but you can't have everyone vote for him to stay somewhere else if he's the one that booked it. That's my opinion.
Yeah, no, my opinion too. Yeah, it was kind of like Michelle didn't understand that, like, not only did he really book the trip, possibly, but also he is the owner of this trip on the Valley. So this strategy or this plan didn't really make much sense to me. I can't believe that all of a sudden there was this spur of the moment vote at Dave & Buster's where people had to declare loyalty, right to Michelle, and the results were mixed.
Right.
She gets Janet, but Janet is just basically like, please don't bother me. I've got some tickets to get, but to get that drone. She goes, now can you please leave me alone? I'm Team Michelle. I'll say whatever you need me to say for you to get out of here.
Yeah. Kristen goes, well, if the rumors are true, then Michelle can afford a really nice hotel in Santa Barbara. But Jasmine's like, I don't want to get banished from the trip. Like, I'm Team Jesse because I want to go.
Yeah, and Kristen says right to Michelle's face, she goes, if you're demanding a vote right now, then I'm with Jesse, which was kind of shocking to hear. That Kristen had to say that to Michelle's face right in the moment.
Yeah, it was giving, like, butthurt that she isn't the one planning a trip on the show. Because I'm like, sorry, like, whether it's the producers wanted him to run it or if he took the initiative or whatever, I'm like, he holds the cards in this situation, and that's unfortunate for you, but it's true.
Yeah, that's going to be a fun trip, Santa Barbara.
Yes, I think it's literally next week. And Michelle says that she doesn't get as much sympathy as Brittany because people think Jax is worse, but she says Jesse is by far worse, which I'm like, poll to the audience. I don't know if that could possibly be true.
I need to hear all the evidence. Jax has got a list of stuff that he's done that I've seen over the last 12 years that I would say right now I haven't seen Jesse even come close to, besides his sort of malevolent attitude towards Michelle at a time when she's very hurt and upset. But other than that, I don't know. I need to see what she's talking about. She didn't reveal any new evidence against Jesse. I still think Jax kind of, the proof is right there. Proof is right there. Jax is the one in a mental health treatment facility because he broke a bunch of shit in his house. And then it has the kind of sad dichotomy of the spirit and fun of a birthday where everyone's going, happy birthday to Janet. And then you look over at a table and Michelle is just alone crying by herself at Dave & Buster's because the vote didn't really go her way.
Right. And then, next week is the trip, and we get an update that Jax is rage texting from rehab, which can't wait to hear about that. And then, more Jesse and Michelle drama throughout Santa Barbara. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm like, I feel like they're in a good start here.
It's great. I mean, it's a perfect start to the season. There's going to be so many more amazing moments. I think all of the cast is starting to shine. Like I said, with Jason and Janet. I mean, Jason was the MVP, obviously, of this episode for one, for having an android, and two, for He did a lot of stuff, taking Jax to the mental health facility. But yeah, overall, I'm very excited for the season, and so far it's 3 for 3. I mean, what a wonderful season so far.
Yeah, as Katy Perry sung in space, what a wonderful world.
Oh my God, I forgot that she sang that. Oh, could you imagine if I could be Gayle King sitting in my booster seat and listening to Katy singing that? I get me to space right now, please.
Love that for you.
Good. All right. Well, please let us go. Turtle time has concluded for the night. I did. This episode was so good, and I'm glad we had so much news at the start. Can you believe what we did there?
Keeping it topical as ever. If you want the opposite of topical, go to our Patreon where we're talking about old Vanderpump Rules. It's a barrel of fun, especially to listen to in tandem of the Valley and see what the fuck Jax is up to at the, what happened 10 years ago versus today and how unchanged he is. It's really fun.
Oh yeah, did we already advertise? We did. That the episode coming out has the Jax meltdown to end all meltdowns. That's what we recapped. Right. This. So on Monday's episode, that's already it's come out for this week. Jax has a meltdown that I didn't remember the extent of, but it has him flipping the bird straight to Lisa's face, screaming at the top of his lungs. I cannot believe what we witnessed, and you and I parsed the shit out of that episode on Patreon. Right. So listen there, and and then please review Turtle Time. I mean, Amy and I need reviews so badly. We can't even express how badly we need those reviews. And then buy something from the Etsy shop, please.
Yes, I said this a long time ago, but I really am going to launch some new shit on there imminently. Yes. Any day, I swear.
And that's a Turtle Time guarantee.
I swear to God.
No, okay, all right. Well, we love you all so much, little turtle cuties and Villa Rosa VIPs. We will see you for Friday's episode where we will talk about Summer House. So don't think about anything about Summer House. Watch the episode, but don't have any takes. Don't listen or read anything about it. Wait for Friday for Turtle Time and have a Turtle Time Summer House Friday.
Bye-bye.